So thank you. First, thank you all for joining us tonight. Before we get started with our esteemed panelists, I just want to acknowledge the Lenape tribe of Newark, New Jersey, on the land that we're on currently. So I also just want to make it imperative to please, the census, the 2020 census has just been pushed back, I believe, to September 30th. So we just want to make it, I think right now, last time I checked earlier today, I believe Newark, New Jersey was at 46%. So I just hope can we get to 56, 66, 76, 106. Yeah. I think more than ever, it's just imperative that we get, that we participate. It entails representation for us as well as funding for places like schools and hospitals. So, my colleague Dale just posted the my2020census.gov link in the chat room, the group chat, which is where you can also post any questions you may have for the evening. But yeah, they say it takes 10 minutes, not boasting, but it didn't even take me 5. So,
it's very quick, very quick.
Yep. So, in order, so let's just get into it. So this past summer here in Newark, a coalition of community groups, local artists, residents, and representatives, including Mayor Ross Baraka, came together to paint a 25-foot-long mural akin to similar messages painted in cities throughout the United States, Black Lives Matters, with the word all preceding Black Lives Matter. The word all, in addition, served as a statement of inclusivity, which was fitting as this was painted on Global Pride Day. Excuse me. And some of the attendees at the event, waved LGBTQ and trans pride flags. And it was a reminder that the struggle for Black lives is broader than it may often be perceived. To me, at least, that's how I read it and understand it. Of course, Black LGBTQ plus community have historically been integral to the ongoing struggle for African American liberation. Just a few figures, gods to me, James Baldwin, Angela Davis, Bayard Russ, contributors to more civil rights movements, and their actions and words carry just as much weight today. And it should absolutely be noted that as the world chants Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza and Patrice Cullors, 2 of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, both identify as queer. So our Black LGBTQIA plus brethren remain essential to social justice, culture, spirituality, technology, but also face what I think of as a double struggle against the injustice that plagues the Black community as well as the LGBTQIA community. So I am, first of all, I'm thankful to have 3 of the people immersed in that struggle, that ongoing struggle, with us tonight. And definitely want to thank them on behalf of the Newark Public Library for joining us. So we have Beatrice Simpkins, who is the director of the Newark LGBTQ Community Center. Denise Hinds, the assistant executive director at Good Shepherd Services, and Gary Paul Wright, the founder / Executive Director of the African American Office of Gay Concerns, community-based nonprofit. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. And, you know, I guess I was thinking we could probably just start with, you know, what are some of the resources, assistance that you and your organizations provide for, you know, the LGBTQ community. So whoever would want to start with that.
Gary, we're going to kick the ball to you first, okay?
Thanks a lot. Well, like Reggie said, I am the executive director of co-founder and executive director of the African American Office of Gay Concerns. Thank you for having me and reaching out and, you know, allowing me to speak my piece. We're located in Newark, New Jersey. We just celebrated, we're celebrating 20 years of existence this year. We've been in the spot on Broad Street since 2002. We do HIV testing. We have we do syphilis testing for gay men. We get funded from the New Jersey Department of Health. We also have a transgender component called TGIF. Thank goodness I'm fabulous. We've had trans women on staff for many, many years. I don't have one on staff now because they keep getting, you know, trained and then they move on to other agencies and get more money. So you can't stand in their way. But I actually do have a trans man on staff now. So that's the first time we've ever had a trans man on staff. So we're growing just like everybody else is growing. We're just happy to be here and just happy to serve as a resource. You know, y'all come on down, you can get tested. It's all free. We also have masks and gloves if you need them. So, and condoms. So people are still having sex. So come on and get your condoms, okay? And I'll pass it on to Denise now.
Well, I'm here representing the Newark LGBTQ Community Center in Newark. My day job is Assistant Executive Director of Good Shepherd Services, which is a youth serving, family serving organization in New York City. But my focus tonight is really around the work that we're doing at the Newark LGBTQ Community Center. And I know that Beatrice is dying to tell you all that we do there because it's a pretty amazing place. It's a small place with very, very, very few resources. And we're always looking for more support. As the chairperson of the board, which I've been doing now for about 5 years, I have to say that it's a very fulfilling and rewarding place to support, but at the same time, we need more and more support. So B, why don't you say what we do?
Okay, so we are in our 7th year of operation. We were created in response to, I don't know if some of you know about the murder of Sakia Gunn, which was a young Black lesbian woman who was more male identified, who was accosted on a Newark street and murdered on a Newark street. And so it took 10 years of struggle through different administrations for the founders, the founding board and founding members. I give homage to Reverend Janice Jackson, who led the way. And so the center was created in 2013. What we have always been, our main purpose for existence is to be a safe space for people to come in and drop in and be in community with like-minded people. And we did a lot of social programs. We're talking pre-COVID. We had game nights on Wednesdays. We had a youth game night on Friday. We had yoga on Saturday mornings. We had a community dinner once a month. We had developed, right before COVID, we had, one of our volunteers was organizing a community dinner for folks to get together. We had movie nights. We often sponsored different events for the community to use our space for different kinds of meetings. We had open mic nights, and then we would have forums around things like policing, safe spaces in Newark, supporting LGBT businesses, or whatever, the community might have wanted to talk about because something may have happened. There may have been some sort of event that, you know, touched the hearts of people, and so they wanted some place to come and talk about it. We had a fundraiser called a Dance-a-thon, which is a lot of fun, which I miss because we can't shake a leg right now together. But we used to have the Dance-a-thon annually. And we also did work with Liberation and Truth, and we also did work with Unity Fellowship Church of Newark. And so we were just, we existed to give the LGBTQ community a place to go, a safe place to go. And we especially did that for people of color. And that's who we are. Reggie, we can't hear you.
Oh, let's see, just a second.
You're back.
Yeah. All right, so hopefully this is coming through a little better.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you. And both of these, you know, organizations, I wholly think if anyone looking to support, my colleague Dale has put the links in the chat, in the group chat, which once again, I'd like to remind more people that are joining in, if you do have any questions, comments that you would like to contribute, please post them there, and, you know, we'll do our best to get to them throughout the evening. So, but yeah, the work y'all are doing, you know, it's essential and, you know, highly appreciated. And, you know, one of the things I'm curious about is how this current crisis with the current COVID crisis has sort of impacted your work and the work of the organization, you know, if you've been able to make do, or how it's sort of stunted the work that you're currently doing. So anyone who would.
I'll take it first. So the biggest thing that affects, I think, not only our center, but all nonprofit organizations is the ability to raise money. And, you know, you've seen a dramatic drop in, you know, private donors and the redirecting of public resources because, and rightfully so, we have this pandemic, and so we need to protect people and save people's lives. And so that's been a big issue. Like, most of your fundraisers are in person. You know, you have galas or events or ticketed events and that kind of stuff. So we've had to totally rethink how we are going to sustain ourselves, because we don't know when this is going to end. And we don't want to do things that would make, put people in harm's way. So we are going to be, you know, responsible people. We are going to listen to the public health officials and the doctors, and we are going to try to keep our community safe. And so we've had to switch to being virtual. And I've had to learn how to use Zoom, and Denise, you know, all of us have had to make this huge adjustment in how we could keep connected to the people that we serve. You know, the beautiful thing about the center was we would be open mostly from afternoon into the evenings. And so people had some place to go at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And so that's been taken away from them, a place to gather with their friends, to have game night. And so a lot of the calls that we get now are about people missing being able to socialize. You know, we're isolated. And so we have to rethink how we can create opportunities for people to be able to get together, have fun, enjoy themselves, and support the center. And so we did shift over to have a really great drag bingo, which was a lot of fun. First time I've ever participated in it. And we, you know, had quite a few attendees. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I think everybody else did too. And so, you know, we have to shift now to be able to connect to our community in a different way until we are able to be in person. Like, for instance, the library building just recently reopened on a limited capacity. So from March until maybe a week ago, we weren't even allowed into this, we couldn't get into the 5 Washington Street location. And so, now that I think it's partially open for curbside pickup of, you know, lending and stuff like that, but we can't get it. We can't have events, and we can't bring people together. And so how do we do that? How do we have the resources? How do we get volunteers engaged again, you know, to help us do these things? We need volunteers to have tech skills, social media skills. And so it's made us shift in our approach to how we connect to the community and what kind of entertaining, social, wonderful, interesting things can we provide for the community, and what kind of resources can we get to the community during this time of COVID.
And the only thing I would add is that, you know, the center has always had to be resilient in the way that we provide our services, in particular because of the lack of funding and the lack of support. And so, you know, we were recently displaced from our building where we could be open till 9 o'clock if we wanted to, or open at 12 if we wanted to on a Saturday or Sunday. We were displaced, and, you know, luckily the library gave us a home, but we've had to like rebuild ourselves several times based on kind of these unforeseen circumstances like COVID. So, you know, we're not going to let COVID stop us. We didn't let, you know, whoever bought our building and tore it down and is going to build something else stop us. It's just like that resilience is something that I think, you know, as Black folks, we have that in us anyway. And we will continue to just keep on going on regardless of COVID or whatever comes our way.
We're sort of like in the same boat with everybody else. We did close down for a while, you know, when the big shutdown happened, lockdown happened. And we were able to kind of reopen like in mid-June, but we're only open like part-time from noon to 4, only because initially I just wanted to protect my staff. I didn't want them, you know, being in hordes of people when we didn't know what was going on, and before, you know, everybody was started wearing masks and things like that. So we just kind of followed the plan like everybody else. Once we did open, and what's still happening is people are still a little scared about coming in. We've had some clients trickle in, and I know we're like a lot of HIV organizations, you know, we're just taking as many precautions as we can. You know, we got the PPEs, I got my, you know, my thing on here and stuff like that. But we are testing, and but like I said, it's slowly coming back to normal. But it's going to take a while. But one of the things that's affecting us now is one of the things we do is group interventions. We have Many Men, Many Voices, which generally has like 12 to 16 people come in. We have our girls have Sister, Saving Sisters' Lives, or Saving Our Sisters. And we can't really do that because we can't meet in groups. So now we're trying to figure out how we can try to do it, you know, maybe virtual. But some of these things, you know, like sessions are like, you know, a session, you know, 3 sessions this week, 3 sessions next week, you know, and trying to do them online is just going to be, you know, impossible because people are burned out on some of these Zoom things. And when you're talking about sex and being safe and things like that, you really need that back and forth, that interaction that you can't really do on a computer. So we're just trying to work with the state to find out how we're going to, you know, better serve our community. We can still do the one-on-ones, but the group sessions we just can't do. So we're not sure how we're going to move forward on that. And we were talking about funding. Like I said, we get our major funding from the Department of Health. I don't know what's going to happen this year because, you know, the state is running out of money too. And Governor Murphy has already said, you know, they're going to be cutting some funding for HIV programs. So that kind of really sucks as far as we're concerned, because that's you know, that's where we get our funding. We don't charge for anything for any of our services. So, you know, I think now we've got to rethink how we're going to raise funds, and, you know, who in our community's got extra money these days.
Times, you know, I like, you know, as your message, as Denise said, you know, there is this sort of, you know, that as much as the odds are stacked right now, that spirit of resilience and, you know, making do and pushing forward however you can. This is about as heavy as it's been, at least in my lifetime, that I can, you know, that I can think of. But so again, the work that y'all do is highly appreciated and necessary, and I'm glad to see y'all still at least functioning, you know, in some capacity at this time, especially, you know, at a highly stressful time. So I do want to acknowledge y'all work once again, and also just to anybody who's, I know there's still people joining in, my colleague Dale has posted links to the Newark LGBTQ Center and the AAOGC, African American Office of Gay Concerns, in the group chat. Before it scrolls too far, and I know we have some local business to definitely segue into, I did catch a question on the side from Daryl Jones. One I think y'all are better equipped to handle, because, you know, I'm learning from y'all tonight as well. You know, but someone asked me, what suggestions would you give for those who want a deeper understanding and to get educated on the diverse lived experience of the Black LGBTQIA plus community and discrimination that they've faced? So I, you know, I would say these groups, but y'all, you know, probably have something better to add than I do.
Well, I mean, we have, and I see here that someone said one of the great resources would be Queer Newark. Yes, that is a great resource. You have Newark Pride, which is a great resource. You have the LGBTQ Community Center, the Oral History Project. There are, you know, resources and places where people can go to get an understanding. They made all these great films and testimonies and testaments to some of the civil rights and you know, the struggles of the LGBTQ community in Newark and in New Jersey and greater New Jersey, especially for people of color. And they've done a really fantastic job of recording the oral histories. And so I would encourage people to check that out, because it's really quite wonderful. And you need to have conversations with LGBTQ people. I hope you know them. I'm sure you have a neighbor or someone around
if not, we're here.
That's right. If not, we're here. If you want to find out about what life is like, please come and talk to us. Send us a message over, you know, our web pages, social media pages.
And some of the LGBT churches are a great place as well. You have UFC Newark,
Unity Fellowship and Rivers.
And Rivers, right? Mm-hmm. So you have two churches that are specifically LGBT related, and that's a great place to go and find community and talk to folks about what their issues are and what their concerns are.
I think, you know, I think it's great that we're like advancing our own narratives at this time, you know? Yes. When Newark Pride Alliance first started, you mentioned Sakia Gunn and her murder in downtown Newark. That was kind of like the first meeting that I remember, you know, living here in New Jersey, that the community actually came together. And unfortunately, we came together because of, you know, tragedy. And it looks like we're doing it again, unfortunately. I mean, I know we're going to be talking about it. And thank God there are people like Beatrice and Denise around when we talk about this, that the mother of the young lady that was murdered, Black trans woman that was murdered, she had at least some resource that she could come to. You know, 13 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. You know, and queer people have been killed and murdered, you know, many, many, many years. So now that we've rallied around each other and we can hold each other's, you know, standing up and get each other's back, you know, that's a good thing. So it took us a while to get there, you know, but we are here and we can't drop the ball, you know.
Agreed. And I also feel like it's really critical that we have allies along with us. We can't do this alone. It's a very heavy load to carry. And, you know, all Black Lives Matter has to really matter. You know, we can't, you know, be in the streets screaming about it. And then we have a situation like we have right now and have a hard time getting people to come to the table. And so, you know, when we say these things, we have to mean them. And we need everybody.
Yeah. We need everybody. Yes, we do. I mean, we're one humanity, right? We share the city of Newark. We share the world together. And so we're neighbors, you know, we are community people in a shared space. We all want to live safely. We all, you know, aspire to own homes and businesses and those kinds of things. And I think what COVID has really brought out is the intensity of the gap in access to finances, access to capital, the ability to be able to walk into a bank and get a loan, the access to healthcare, access to protective equipment. We have seen the Urban League release their State of Black America report today, and it really delves deeply into how COVID has really intensified the spotlight on the huge financial, social, health disparities that have existed and the systematic things that happen to people of color and LGBTQ people that keep us from being able to live our lives fully and safely, and to be able to progress as organizations, be able to progress as individual people. And so that's another thing I think that COVID has showed us. You know, the divide is way deeper and way probably more painful than we could ever possibly imagine. And it's given us a chance to pause and recognize that. And so as people, you know, paint murals of Black Lives Matter on our city streets, which is wonderful, it's uplifting, it's fantastic, it's great to see. But now the hard work starts at systemic change, and the hard work starts at us having difficult dialogues and conversations. And the hard work starts at us being able to connect to our allies and saying, hey, we're all in this together. And, you know, rising tide raises all ships. So can we all raise together? You know, that's my little mantra right now.
Good, it's good. Thank you.
But yeah, the other day I posted on Facebook, I posted a picture of me in a t-shirt that said, you know, I fight HIV because Black trans lives matter. And some of the comments I got were like, you know, why just trans lives? Why just Black lives? Why just, you know, and I said, you know, I didn't say just Black trans lives or just Black lives. You know, I just made a statement that said, you know, I'm doing this because trans lives matter. Black trans lives matter. And people want to like pick it apart and just tear it apart. It's like, you know, you have your story, I have mine, and I should be able to talk, you know, talk my truth without people piling in on it. You know what I mean? But it's just like with the elections last year or 4 years ago, when people were ragging on Obama and Trump and all this other madness, and it's like, y'all, we're all in this together. So, you know,
right.
it's just, you know, and even today, people, when we posted stories about Ashley Moore, people are like, you know, what's wrong with people? Why can't we all get along? And, you know, it's because we got crazy leaders out there that don't know what the hell they're doing. You know, we got Black people tearing down other Black people. You know, that we got to stop this stuff, man. We got to stop it. Okay.
I want to say, you know, one of the things that inspired me, as far as, you know, I mean, I felt some sort of allyship prior, but even recently, just seeing within my timeline, an argument between someone fighting about, you know, Black Lives Matter, Black LGBTQ lives, and, you know, akin to what you were just saying, that why does it have to be this? You know, why do we, you know, doesn't that diminish from this side when this encompasses all of us?
Right.
You know, and you should just be as concerned with, you know, an Ashley Moore as you are with an Eric Garner and everyone else. That it should all those names should be, you know, sadly, all those names exist for the reason they exist in the national lexicon, but they should all be concurrent and running together. So I think that's, you know, I definitely want to have some time to talk about Ashley Moore. I do want to ask quickly, you know, how do you feel as far as the overall Black Lives Matter movement has been in regards to Black LGBTQ lives. I mean, we, you know, and I guess this is more for people who don't know as much about the co-founders, two of the co-founders, you know, but has it felt inclusive overall, or like a separate entity, you know, in terms of who should be prioritized when dealing with violence against, you know, Black women, Black trans women, and men, trans men? Do you feel like it's been sort of a cohesive, you know, because I think there's many voices from beneath, but maybe from the top down, where it is like a push to ensure that we all are covering all these issues under this banner.
Well, one of the things we have to realize with Black folks is we are Black folks first, okay? I remember when I was first coming out and I was working at Gay Men's Health Crisis many years ago, you know, the big argument was, are you Black and gay, or are you gay and Black, you know? And it's like, well, you know, I'm bisexual, but sorry, Pete. You know, I'm always going to be Black. You know, I'm gay and I'm outwardly gay, openly gay. But if I decide to, you know, hey, I'm tired of being gay, I can't say that about being Black. You know, I'm going to be Black till the day I die. So I think with Black queer people, we have this dual identity. You know, we have to straddle that line because, you know, there's racism within the gay community, and then there's homophobia, transphobia within the Black community. So we've got to, you know, straddle that fence and try to bring it all together. You know what I mean? And I think that's the dual identity that we've been living with for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that intersection is, you know, we have to keep pushing that both of those things intersect, and bring people along. I don't think we're there yet. I think there's, you know, we still have a lot of struggle within the Black Lives Matter movement, whatever that really is. We still have a lot of struggle to kind of like get our own footing. But I have to say I was impressed and moved that, you know, so many people came out for some of the larger Black Queer Lives Matter protests. And it really showed that there is a shift, I think, afoot in that way. But I still think we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. I you know, the fact that Black trans women continue to be murdered by Black folks, Black men in particular, we have to speak on that, and we have to figure out how to do better in our communities to educate Black men so that this doesn't continue to happen. I mean, we can't be silent to that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We have to, you know, we is like Gary said, before anything else, I am Black, okay? I can not tell people I'm a lesbian. They could never know that, but they are always going to know that I'm Black. And that goes for the person wants to consider whether they're going to hire me or not. That goes for when I go to apply for housing or not. You know, there's a commercial out right now. There's this Black police officer said, I can take off my police uniform, but I can't take off my skin. You know, I am always Black. And so that, you know, that the interaction of that happens differently, you know, where you're moving at. But I do believe that when they say Black Lives Matters, I don't think they're excluding LGBTQ people. Matter of fact, some of their leadership are from the LGBTQ community. And so I think it's a good intersection. And I think we are in the process of working out, you know, how can we all best work together. But I do see that though that movement and the movement to preserve and protect and uplift Black LGBTQ people, especially Black trans women who are being victimized, you know, killed, murdered, disrespected, is definitely something that we can work together on.
Talk about, you know, that's a good segue into Black trans women. I believe I read earlier that I think 20 plus murdered this year, in higher numbers than even 2019.
Right.
I think we might be at 27.
And we're not finished with 2020 yet.
Right. Actually, the National Transgender Center for, or the National Center for Transgender Equality just put out something. I've downloaded it yesterday, and it says that in 2020 alone, at least 28 transgender people were murdered. And this is not even counting the one that happened in Newark. So that's at least 29 that we know of, that we have names of. It is more than happened in 2019 totally. So, you know,
Wow.
it's ridiculous.
It's painful. It's very, very painful.
Like to the families of those who've, you know, suffered this violence, and, you know, it's tragic. And of course, you know, names like Mercy Mack out of Dallas, Texas, Braylon Stone from Arkansas, you know, of course, I think we really, in our own backyard, we've mentioned, I think someone mentioned Sakia Gunn, and we have the Ashley Moore case, which did have which had some developments today, although, you know, it's that sort of, I think I was talking to someone earlier and sort of called it the slow rolling wheel of justice for some over others. So I guess, you know, whoever wants to, I know Beatrice, you've done some amazing work there. So I don't know if you want to start off with that, or anybody who wants to sort of talk about the developments of the Ashley Moore case, and, you know, where we're at and what's going on there.
Well, the thing I will say, and then B, I know you're gonna bring this home, but I just want to say that I think that case has brought to light the importance of centers like the Newark LGBTQ Center, and other places in Newark and around New Jersey that are out there trying to protect and keep our people safe. And I'm thankful that the mom had a place like ours to lean on in a time where nobody else was really talking about this story. And, you know, she connected with B, and B, you could take it from there. But I just want to put a plug in for the importance of the work that we do, and the importance of people supporting us so that we can continue to do that work.
Right. And the amazing thing about this is that Ashley's mom lives in Massachusetts, and the person that connected us lives in California. So it just goes to show you how far reaching your Newark LGBTQ Center is, that we were able to connect to people in 2 different parts of the country to deal with something that had happened right here in our own backyard. Okay. No one knew about Ashley's death on April 1st. We hadn't been contacted. None of the other LGBT community knew about it. Even the Newark Police LGBTQ liaison group that we've been working with for 2 years on upgrading their training curriculum to deal with the LGBT community had no idea it had happened. And so once I connected with the mother, she was incredibly frustrated at the fact that, number one, no one from the police ever called her to tell her daughter had died. She found out on her birthday, the daughter's birthday, through social media, because she posted a birthday message to her daughter, because that was how they connected. They didn't necessarily talk on the phone. They didn't see each other. You know, Ashley was here in New Jersey. You know, Starlet was in Massachusetts. And so she's posting this picture of her 12-year-old Ashley, and gets back all these responses about resting in peace, and was totally confused. Now she's going through this while she's at work. And so she finally called, she started out by contacting Rain. And Rain was able to just confirm for her that her daughter had died. And so 3 months, let's, go down 3 months to June, still nothing from the police, nothing from the coroner, nothing from the medical examiner's office, no communication as to why her child died, no conclusions drawn Police hadn't sent her the police report, although she had asked for it on more than one occasion. She had to call them. They never called her. But she did talk to me, and thank God, because of the work that we've been doing, the Newark LGBT Community Center and the other organizations in Newark, with the police department, I did have someone that I could call. And I did contact Lieutenant, and I knew that he would give me a straight answer, and that he was an honest and dedicated public servant who has always been respectful of us as we've worked with them over the last couple of years. And within 24 to 48 hours, we had more information about Ashley's death. Within a week after that, the mother had the police report. And so that brought up even more questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions around how Ashley died. And there's some real serious concerns on how the Newark police looked and viewed Ashley as a person. The fact that they made no attempt to talk to a 26-year-old's family. It is always heartbreaking to lose a child. You see a young person die in the street, you know they have to have a mother and father somewhere who wants to know what's going on with their child. And so to not do that, it really upset me. And so I went after this like a dog with a bone. And I will not rest until we know what happened to Ashley. The police department give the parents, the mother especially, the respect that they deserve. And when I tell you it's been one bungle after another. And they're not making things better. They're making things worse. Not necessarily for me, but they're definitely making things worse and uncomfortable for the family. But the point of all this is that if you have this push, you know, you're supposed to be more sensitive to our community, and you know, you've got these trainings going on and all this great, you know, stuff on paper, and you're having these meetings. Tell me why no one in the LGBT community even know this person died. Tell me why you did not reach out to not a single organization. If you were having problems finding the family, why not come talk to some of us? Ashley had been a member of Project WOW at NJCRI. She was a resident of the Rain Foundation for a period of time, and she finally transitioned to the Y. She was a working person. She was saving money, was about to get her own apartment. She had a circle of friends. She's from the community. So reach out to the community and say, can you help us find this young lady's family, number one? And maybe can you also help us to find out what actually happened to her? It was just, it felt bad. It was angering. It was frustrating. And now you have a mom who's always in Massachusetts who was unemployed. She didn't have the money to come to Newark. She didn't have the money to make trips here to advocate on behalf of her child. You know, she just started working again, I think maybe a week or two ago. This woman is a nurse. She works long hours. She has a 2-hour commute to work. She needed someone to help fight for her child here in Newark. And I'm just happy that the LGBTQ Center was able to do that for her. And so, you know, I got on it. I started putting some stuff out, Denise and I, you know, connecting to people and publicizing this, because this was something that seemed to me that people wanted to keep quiet. And I kept wondering, why is it quiet? Why hasn't the press covered this? Why haven't the police made a statement? Why is it 3 months later and you haven't even drawn a conclusion about how she died? There's just so many things that's wrong with this.
Well, they did draw a conclusion. It just wasn't.
Well, it wasn't an investigative conclusion.
Right. It was just an easy way to make it go away.
Right.
Tell them about the traffic lights. I mean.
Right. So, if you're familiar with where the YMCA is, there are several traffic lights right outside the building. And I know that from going to the gym there, and I know that from living in the neighborhood. And so there's film. And you don't look at it for 3 months. So April goes by, May goes by, June goes by and you never look at the film. The film was not viewed, according to the information I have, until I made a phone call to the Newark Police Department. And the LGBTQ liaison folks started looking into it and realized the film had not been viewed by the folks who were assigned the case. And so now that brought up different questions, because their original conclusion was that it was a traffic accident, not from police work, but from what the doctor said at University Hospital. And so once they viewed the film, they eliminated that as the reason why Ashley died. But you could have done that in April. And then after April, you could have started investigating what actually happened to Ashley. So now 3 months later, you know, we all watch Law and Order and CSI, and, you know, 3 months later, the scene of the crime changes, you know, physical things change. You may not have access to people and witnesses. And Ashley's body was claimed back from her family, and Ashley has been cremated without a cause of death on her death certificate. It says pending. How does that happen? How do you get cremated with no cause of death on your death certificate? I don't know how that happens. Now, I understand it was COVID. You know, the medical examiner's office was overwhelmed. But to me, as an investigatory kind of standard, how would you allow the cremation of someone who you're not even sure how they died, who died on a public street, and whose body exhibited evidence of violence? How do you do that? How does that happen? And I'd like some answers from the folks who are supposed to protect and serve the citizens, all citizens. And it may be a harsh thing to say, but it's all about Black Lives Matter, right? This was a Black trans woman in the street, and I really believe through the biases of how people view trans people and Black people, people in authoritative positions, they did not value Ashley's life, and that's why this happened. So we continue to work on it. We continue to fight for Ashley. The beautiful thing is it has brought out this beautiful coming together of so many folks around this issue. Young people, older people, and like Gary was saying earlier, you know, it's unfortunate that we, you know, it's like they say, you know, it's unfortunate you get to see your family members and it has to be at a funeral kind of thing. So tragedy, but tragedy sometimes births wonderful things. And so from this tragedy has come, I think, a renewed collective spirit among the LGBT organizations in Newark and greater New Jersey, as well as allies, and a tremendous outpouring from the trans Black community, many of whom are very young and very vulnerable. And I think it inspires them a little bit to know that there are people out here in this community who care about their lives and their safety, and we will do everything that we can to protect them and to make sure that they can live freely, that they can rent an apartment, that they can get a job, you know, and they can live their lives safely the way we should be able to.
Right.
We, you know, we can do another hour. I know there's still even a lot of other issues and things that we could report on, and you know, even this current room showed that we still need. There's still work to do.
There is.
So thank you again for, you know, the work that all three of y'all put in. And I know for Ashley, I believe we will share some of the resources. You know, your organization's on the Newark Public Library social media page, and I believe Ashley has a GoFundMe page, you know, for the family that we can also link on there as well.
Right, and we need those resources, Reggie, just to say we really need those resources for the legal fund for her mom. to be able to continue to push this case. Everything that you see coming out now from, from the mayor to the police commissioner or whatever his title is, we don't want to let this die. We need to get full answers. We need to get justice for Ashley. And in getting justice for her, we get justice for so many other people, right? It just shows that we can take this beyond one case and not let these things get kind of pushed under the rug. So I think it's really critical that people, even if it's $1, contribute to that fund, please. And then the other thing is that we will be planning a vigil. We have a meeting tomorrow morning to begin the plannings of that. Ashley's soul cannot rest without some type of memorial, and we feel like she and her family deserve that. So a bunch of us will be working towards that. And, when the call to action comes out, we hope that people will join us at that vigil.
Absolutely. Yes. Please be sure to share that with us so we can, also do our part in making sure we get the word out. And, it's a fight, and, I'm more than glad to be an ally within that. And, it's 7 already, almost 7. So I do want to give y'all any, again, thank y'all, first of all, for being here with us. And, again, I can't say it enough. Appreciate the work that y'all doing. If there's any kind of final or closing sort of statements, any information, anything you might have, that you might want to get out beforehand before we close out.
I just want to say, we do appreciate our community, but we do need to hear from our community, not just their voices, but their checkbooks. Like I say, none of this is free. I mean, none of the stuff that we do, we don't charge for anything. So,
right.
We got expenses. If you want to donate to us and designate it, to go somewhere else, we will do that. But we really, really need the community support right now. We can't do this work without you guys. A lot of people say, "Oh, do you need volunteers?" It's like, we need money. We need money so we can pay our staffs, But the bottom line is we have gotten a lot. We do get support. We have a lot of allies out there. I enjoy living in this area. I mean, I'm from Texas originally, so I choose to live here on purpose. I just really appreciate all the support that we've gotten thus far. I see Karen Latiner, whose daughter was trans, who was our very first speaker at our first transgender summit that we did. Karen lives in California, I think, right now, or Arizona. But thank you so much, Lisa, Steve, Peter. Thank you all for participating. And come to our webpage, come to our Facebook page, AAOGC, Newark LGBTQ Center. Let us know what we can do to help, further this conversation along. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Reginald, I want to thank you for organizing this. This was really quite wonderful, and we do need to have these conversations more often. And I'd, be happy to participate. And I thank everyone else who's joined us tonight, who's been interested in this conversation.
Ditto. We can't hear you, Reggie.
Can't hear you, Reggie.
I go again. My bad. Thank you.
Sweet spot there. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I was sinking into the chair here, but yeah. Thank y'all once again. I want to thank my colleagues, Dale and Beth, who had their work cut out for them tonight.
Yes,
appreciate y'all.
That's the first time I ever experienced anything like that. I want to thank you all for taking care of it.
With me both. So it's, but it's, again, it shows that it's still a lot to combat out there. So, the fight continues.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.
Please, follow us on Newark Public Library to find the links, and we'll also have everything posted in the chat for anybody who wants to revisit this on Facebook or YouTube's Newark Public Library's YouTube page. So
Reggie,
thanks again.
Anytime you want to like bring us back, we're ready for you, man. Okay. And I too want to thank you for putting this together.
Absolutely. And I see 3 exclamation points. And yes, my colleague Dale says vote.
Vote. Yes. Please.
Vote,
Please.
Vote.
Please vote.
Not vote early enough. The earliest you can vote, please get out and vote.
Yep.
Very necessary. So
Amen.
thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
See y'all later.